The stage was perfectly set for a Browns W. They were playing the Jets, a team that has been horrible all year. It seemed like we were finally get a chance to really see what Dillon Gabriel had and would see what Kevin Stefanski could do. We had the game against the Dolphins, but it got rained out and it wasn't really optimal conditions. This Jets game was supposed to be everything that was going to let us see what Dillon Gabriel actually has. And we predicted them to win. We thought this was finally going to happen. And they lost again. And they didn't just lose, but they lost in real Browns fashion, finding a way to lose no matter what the circumstances were. And I think that leaves us with a lot of questions. One of those questions is Shadeur. Is it time to play him? I think we also have questions about Tommy Rees, who took over the play calling duties. I think it leaves us questions about Kevin Stefanski. Is his job in jeopardy? If so, who might replace him? We're also going to discuss the brownie points, who we thought the standout players on offense and defense were in this game, and then we're going to leave you with the Browns versus Ravens preview. Welcome to the Brownie Points podcast. I'm your host, Noam, and I'm here with my co-host,
Levi.
Excellent job. Let's get it started with Shadeur Sanders, because that is such a hot topic. Obviously, it's a hot topic all year, although I was expecting it to be hotter. I was expecting the flames to be burning. I was expecting the people with the torches and the pitchforks to be gathering around the town square, shouting and cheering for Shadeur Sanders to step in. But we haven't really seen that, and that leads me to feel like he's playing poorly in practice, because I think if he was been playing well in practice amidst all of this, I think there'd be buzz from the players. I think there would be smoke from, I think, insiders who'd be hearing rumblings and whispers from players and from assistant coaches and whatnot about Shadeur and how Shadeur's ready and blah, blah, blah. But we're not hearing any of that. And that really makes me feel like the team doesn't think, the players, the coach, the ownership, the GM doesn't think that Shadeur Sanders is ready. But I don't know that that's enough for people to really care. I think Browns fans right now are hurting and they want to see change.
Yeah, I mean, Browns fans always do this. So they're always going to reach for change. They're always want the next guy. So that's what they're going to say, generally speaking. And at some point they might get it because, you get towards the end of regimes and people can sense the end coming and they just take Hail Marys. So, I mean, look, if it continues to look like this, I would bet that you would see Shadeur at some point just because, near the end of the year.
Oh, yeah. It's a Browns quarterback. If you start the season on the depth chart, you're probably going to play.
Yeah, so, for that reason, you very well might. I could see soon that if you start to get into another game or two where you're getting beaten badly, where it's truly garbage time, actually garbage time, like mid-fourth quarter, you're down by 3 scores, you might see Shadeur come into a game like that. But I think, I believe the coaching staff, it's always different, right? So, as fans, sometimes we forget that there's a different perspective because we saw him go away and then we haven't seen him play or do anything since the preseason.
Right.
Now, I remember that preseason. A lot of people have forgotten about it, or at least the inconvenient bits. But they see him in practice every day. They see him in the building all the time. And if he hasn't progressed, they've seen it. They've seen him consistently come out there and not get concepts. So if that's what's going on, it makes perfect sense. Yeah. But for fans, they're just sitting there watching a bad product on the field and thinking, hey, maybe the next guy comes up. But again, I would once again point to the fact that Joe Flacco is out there doing a lot better elsewhere. And I think the product is just a problem. I'm not saying that a top tier quarterback couldn't do better. I'm not saying that somebody who knows how to elevate couldn't do better, but it'd have to be someone with an established basis, knows what they're doing, is also athletic because you're going to have to be able to move, which Joe Flacco can't really do anymore. And you know what I mean. And you're going to have to play to that next level to elevate a bunch of guys. And even then, there's a limit because it's not that good. It just means you can play better than this.
I think only a truly elite quarterback could elevate this roster. I mean, it's just a really bad situation. And it's not just one person, but I think that's part of the danger, I think, of the burn it down mentality, which is really easy to fall into when you're seeing so much losing. You have this burn it all down, strip it down to the studs, get rid of everybody mentality, when there's a really good chance that not everybody is a problem necessarily. Sometimes you just need to make one key change or 1 or 2 key changes, but that's a separate conversation. Really, I want to focus on Shadeur here before we move on to the other people in the organization. But when it comes to Shadeur, obviously you don't seem to feel like there's enough indicating that he's going to play soon. You feel like, he's going to play at some point in the year. Do you think there's at all a possibility that he doesn't see the field at all?
At this point, I feel like it's a low possibility.
Yeah, I'm going to agree.
Because you'd probably see him the last game of the year, worst comes to worst.
Yeah, I think so too. Although my guess is he comes in with 3 or 4 games left. But I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't play at all. I think the worst case scenario for Shadeur is he only gets the last game of the season.
Yeah.
But I'm not. Okay, when I was watching that game and it was at the end, this is what I was honestly feeling when that game was over. There's zeros on the clock, and I thought to myself, I'm ready to see Shadeur. but after a day or two, and I had some time to move on from that and to actually think critically, and I came back around and leveled out, and I was like, okay, if Shadeur was actually going to be any better than this, he probably would already be playing. They're going to play him when they think he's ready. They're going to play him when he reaches that point that they feel he is performing better than Dillon Gabriel is in practice.
Or again, if you're Hail Marying at the end of the year.
Or if you're Hail Marying at the end of the year, yeah. We'll get our chance to see him. I think this is we're just going to have to tough it out. It's just going to be brutal. It's been brutal, and I think it's going to continue to be brutal. The Browns may not win another game. I mean, the game that they were supposed to win, the next win was supposed to be the Jets. They didn't win that game.
Well, and the Jets, remember, they traded away Quinn Williams. They traded away
Sauce
Gardner. Yeah. So when you get both those
you're playing
trades,
them coming right off of that, which is often like a team. Well, teams can go either way. Sometimes they kind of, have a bit of a step, next man up mentality. But often it's hard to just make up. They basically lost their best player on their first and second best player on defense.
Yeah, honestly, I think if it wasn't for the special teams, I think we win that game. Outside of the
outside
of the obvious points,
yeah,
I just think their morale would have been different. If we were up 17-3 at half, I don't think that they're playing with the same gusto.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that one. I mean, I don't know if you've. Have you ever seen that before? I don't think I've ever seen a kickoff return.
Two?
And then immediately a punt return for a touchdown. I don't know that I've ever seen that in the same game.
I don't think I've ever seen two return touchdowns
but
in the
they
same
did,
game from the same team.
That's what I'm saying. But they did it in back-to-back plays, wasn't it? I don't think there were any other plays in
possessions,
between.
But yeah.
Back-to-back possessions. I don't think I've ever even heard of that happening in the NFL.
Wild.
I kept waiting for them.
Yeah, we went from up 7-0 to down 14-7 without their offense really moving the ball.
Yeah, I kept waiting for the broadcast to bring up how often something like that has happened, but they didn't. They only mentioned that it's the first time it's happened for the Jets in one game. And then they're like, okay, fine. I feel like you get more rare than that. It happened to back-to-back possessions.
Yeah.
It feels like it's more, I don't know. We'll have to look into that sometime. I probably won't.
It was
because I don't really want to relive that.
But that's the crazy thing is the Browns special teams, I'm not saying it's been great this year, but it hasn't been awful. They haven't been giving up huge returns all the time.
I mean, it hasn't been great, but
it hasn't been
not
great,
like this.
But it's not like this. You haven't been seeing them. I don't think there hasn't been too many that took them down to their own 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even that, let alone a touchdown, and then to give up two like that back to back is pretty wild.
Yeah.
And it just shows that the Browns find ways to lose. And that brings your questions to Stefanski, right?
Yeah.
If he's on the hot seat, because
absolutely
at a certain point, we could talk about is it this his fault and this his fault in a vacuum. When we start putting it all together, there's a lot of things going wrong. At a certain point, it becomes the head coach's fault.
Yeah, I think when it was earlier in the year, I was more hesitant because I felt like, there's a lot of people to blame, and that was very clear. And when there's a lot of things wrong, I felt like we needed more time to be able to properly evaluate Dillon and the receivers and the offensive line and the coaching job and the GM job. And I felt like it was too early. I do feel like we have crossed the point now where we can start to say, all right, even though the conditions are not ideal, even though Stefanski doesn't have the weapons to say that he should be more successful, even though Dillon Gabriel doesn't have the protections or the receivers to say he should be more successful, even though the receivers don't have a great quarterback throwing to him for us to say that you should be more successful, I think it has been enough time that we have still amassed enough of a sample size to say Dillon Gabriel is not playing like a franchise quarterback. He probably will never be a franchise quarterback. I feel, in my opinion, that we've seen enough of that. I think that we can say that the receiver core is terrible. We can say the offensive line clearly needs more improvement. And unfortunately, I think that Kevin Stefanski has shown his cracks. And you know what? That might be coming from himself. That might be he himself is, doubting himself and questioning himself and has become a shell of what he used to be. He might have lost all of that mojo that he had, not mojo, but, lost his edge or lost that.
Well, he's always
ability.
been a coach who can't be down for too long because he's not great with locker rooms. I think
that's debatable. I think it's debatable to say if he's better with the locker room.
I feel like every time
I haven't gotten the feeling
it's continued to go poorly. He hasn't. There's been guys talking and problems like that. I
don't remember any guys or rumors or things like that coming out about players being unhappy with him.
Not specifically, no, but he doesn't control them.
Yes, I agree that he is not great in the locker room.
They talk a lot. They cause problems. They might not be unhappy with him, but as losing goes on, people are more likely to cause issues, even if it's with other players.
People don't seem to have lost.
He doesn't control it.
A belief in him specifically, though. I would like the players. They don't seem to.
I don't think they're giving
be down
up
on him. Which is, there's something to be said for that. But I think we've reached that point where for Kevin Stefanski, and again, God, pretty much from every angle, people have been calling for them to rip it down to the studs for weeks on end. We have really only just gotten to that point. We're like, okay, now I think it would be fair to I think it's time to actually let him go at the end of the year, or at least let Andrew Berry go. They're probably going to let both of them go for the one
If
go.
you're letting go one, I think it's going to be both.
Yeah. But I think we have reached that point. It's just the Browns are depressing to watch.
We got to talk about other things. Browns didn't do anything at the trade deadline. I didn't expect them to make a big move.
I was expecting something.
But they didn't do anything to just shore things up a little bit.
I was shocked that they didn't make a move, especially considering that a couple receivers were traded. I was like, you couldn't get one guy?
A.D. Mitchell went.
So you have somebody?
It's like an extra in a deal to the Jets, actually.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, that guy has potential. Like, maybe check him out. Offer them something for him.
I don't know what they were doing. I don't know. There's a part of me that wonders if they were directed not to make it.
It feels like for him,
but
he wants everything to be in a perfect little plan. It's like, okay, but sometimes you got to do a little something. Like, don't scramble and like give up a lot. There's nothing wrong with giving up like a normalish value for lower end, but like decent guy or someone who has some upside. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it doesn't work out. It's not the end of the world. Like he wants everything to fall into his little squares, and I think that's also a problem when you got a great roster and you're going for it all. Like, you often see that guys have to make moves mid-season.
Yeah,
you gotta sometimes. It doesn't always work out perfectly, but you gotta like make it work. So I think he's showing. I think his lack of flexibility this far in is showing that even when you have the roster you want, he's not necessarily the guy to run it because, he doesn't make the moves when injuries happen. And I don't think he ever did. Like, he never really did that ever.
No, he doesn't accommodate enough for the fact that there are injuries. I mean, again, our offensive line. Depth was thin. The receiver room was thin. I mean, it was really thin to begin with, and then they had an injury, and it was just...
He's not even throwing late round picks at it. You know what I mean? Like, just nothing. So it's there were some nice things about this class, but overall, it's not going to save his job.
Considering that, though, Kevin Stefanski did put Tommy Reese in to call plays for him. Obviously, we know Kevin likes to call plays. He put Tommy Reese in the game. Did you feel like there was any much of a difference? And if there was a difference, do you think that's saving Kevin Stefanski's job? Or do you think, in a way, that could make him look even worse?
I think it depends. Right now, I thought it was a little bit better, but I didn't think it was, like, worlds better. I also think it was his first time play calling. So there were things I liked, and I thought at times were a little more aggressive, and there was a few things towards getting the ball downfield a little bit and not just always going underneath.
Yeah, they actually threw the ball beyond 20 yards. I think we saw, by the way, again, it wasn't great, but I think we saw that Dylan is physically capable of throwing the ball.
And they got 17 at half. Like, there was times when the offense was moving.
Yeah.
And they can get some points. And they had a 2-minute drive that was really nice. And they did some good things. So it wasn't like, okay, we're completely lost. But then the second half, they just kind of fell apart. But at the same time, you're like, okay, well, guy's a first-time play caller in the NFL. It's probably going to be a learning curve for him. But at the same time, again, you just see some life. You just see some downfield balls. I thought Jerry Jeudy was able to be involved. That's good.
Yeah. For the first time, like, all year, I think, actually.
Yeah,
Jerry Jeudy was actually involved in the offense. And not just that, was actually a nice part of the offense.
Yeah. And so I think that bodes well for Tommy Reese. But look, it's one game. So we'll see how things go. We'll see how things progress. I think there's a little promise there. Whether it makes him look better or worse, I think it depends on how Stefanski handles the rest of the year. Ultimately, if you're like, hey, I think he did better, but everything still looks pretty bad, then I think it's not going to help Stefanski. I think if he learns to embrace it and they are able to turn things around, I'm not saying they will, but if they are, then, I mean, look, I think he's at a point, Stefanski, at this point where results are results. The results have got to look better. If the results look better, everybody's okay with him, and they don't care who's calling the plays. They'll be like, that's fine if he's calling the plays. If you're head coach and it's your offense, but he's calling the plays, that works fine. If it doesn't work out, they're just going to clean house anyway. Yeah. So I'm not sure it really matters. Just the results matter.
Yeah. I mean, things are
it's not his third year.
Yeah.
It's his fifth year. You know?
Yeah.
You either get there or you don't.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he's had his ups, but I think that he's past that point. I think we've reached the point where either his message is stale, his scheme is stale. I think that is in combination, again, to be in all fairness to him, it is absolutely in combination with having terrible weapons. But I think that if this team had great weapons, I think this would actually be like a 6-win team, though, a 6 or 7-win team, and not a 10-win team like they maybe should be. With if they had a talented roster is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, like, this version of Stefanski feels like they take a 9-win team and make them a 7-win team. I don't see it. I don't see enough creativity. I don't think it's been horrible. I think it could be worse, and I see something that was in him of when they were doing well, but it's just not enough.
It also feels like an offense at times that does some things well and then seems to forget about them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was disappointing. It feels like at times they'll just suddenly start playing really conservative and try to throw 3-yard outs to the side to the receivers.
Yeah.
And it'll just, like, throw everything off that the offense was doing, and then they just can't find their way back. There always seems to be that, like, multiple games. It's just strange. Like, it's...
When was the last time...
It's not good.
It just came to my mind. It was just because of how painful this season has been. When was the last season that was as hard to watch as this one? Even last year when they won 3 games, it felt different. I didn't feel as
well. We had Jameson in the back
depressed.
half of the year, so
I think that was part of it because Jameson had the ability to
sling it
because he would throw the ball downfield and he had some interesting plays.
And they had more yards overall, and Jerry Jeudy was doing some things.
They had some games.
Yeah, they had some exciting wins. Even though they didn't have a lot of wins, but like they beat the Ravens in that exciting.
They had a couple of competitive games. Yeah. I don't know. This season feels worse. I feel like I don't remember feeling like
2019 might have been.
I was gonna say
they had more wins, but it was wildly disappointing.
It was disappointing in that way. The last time I felt this depressed, like I felt really disappointed. Like the most disappointed was probably that season right after they had won a bunch of games.
Frustrating.
And you're expecting to come
back.
back.
It was 2016.
To me, like I was gonna say, I don't think I've been this depressed watching the Browns since 2016 or 2017.
For me, it was 16, not 17. Even though they won one game in 16 and they were winless in 17, I thought the 16 team was a 4-5-1 team, easy.
Because they had more talent, yeah.
Well, you remember at the time it was Crowell and I remember the other running back. It was mainly Crowell, but he was actually playing pretty well. They actually had a run game that was like top 10 in the league. Their run defense was like top 5 in the league for a long while. They were running some decent plays. They just could not win. It wasn't like such a bad roster.
Yeah.
They just couldn't win. So I remember, personally for me, I remember 2016 being the worst year.
Yeah.
And 2017 was just kind of laughing. But
yeah, but the point is, it's been a while since it's actually been this depressing. And
it's hard to watch. And look, you see from McVay that schemes can go stale.
I mean, he picked it back up. The Rams have been good.
Right, but even then, it's different.
But they also they weren't having a 3-win season followed up by what looks to be another 3-win season.
No, it didn't look like this.
So it wasn't this bad.
But I don't think he was ever on McVay's level either.
Right.
So
yes, I agree with that.
It's moderate to where he is. But if you remember, look, at the end of the day, when McVay came in, they weren't doing well. They were doing phenomenal with Goff. They were tearing up the league. Nobody could stop them. So I mean, he's bounced back, but it's not the same. My point being is that you can come up with a concept, you can ride a new concept in Kevin Stefanski's case, and then as the league starts to adjust, what do?
You have to be able to continuously adjust.
And not everybody does that. It's
you
why,
want to be
in my opinion,
successful.
Andy Reid is the number 1 overall play caller in the league. Even though there are other good guys and there are guys you can argue about, like LaFleur, like Shanahan, I give it to Reid ultimately because he's still at the top of his game, despite the fact that he's been doing it for such a long time.
Yeah.
That's incredible because the league always seems to catch up to people, yet they can't catch up to him.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, you got to be an innovator. All right. I think it's time to move on from that. I mean, it just gets more depressing the more you talk about it, and the more layers you go, it just gets worse and worse. Let's have a little bit of positives. Brownie point segment. If you're a first time listener, the brownie point segment is where we award brownie points to stand up players on offense and on defense. In this game, to be completely honest with you, though, we don't have anybody at 3 brownie points, and we don't have anybody at 2 brownie points.
I was thinking, though, should we give it to Ward too?
Denzel Ward?
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like that. I mean, we said one.
We make a lot of big plays, but
let's start with what we remember.
Garrett Wilson wasn't doing anything.
Well, what we know, we say number 1. Sorry, at 1 brownie point. The more brownie points you get, the better we thought you did.
Yeah.
At 1 brownie point, we said Jerry Jeudy. What do you have? Like 6 catches, I think 70 yards.
78 yards.
Yeah.
And touchdown.
Yeah, a touchdown. He actually had a nice game.
And that touchdown was a nice play. Fought through some contact.
Yeah. No, it was maybe a better play by the receiver than it was a throw by the quarterback. One could argue. But it was a really strong game from Jerry Jeudy. I don't know that I feel so inclined to say Denzel Ward. I mean, Garrett Wilson didn't do anything. He was also out for some of that game.
I mean, not for Garrett. He's not going to land on this list.
Yeah.
Getting 1 sack.
No. I'm talking about, you were saying Denzel Ward. Who was guarding Garrett Wilson. I was saying Garrett Wilson was also out some of the game.
That's true.
He was coming back. He's coming off an injury, and their quarterback is not very good.
Yeah, Wilson's. He had 5 yards at halftime.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. I was just like, should we? I don't know.
Yeah, and if we could give negative brownie points, it would be to whoever running special teams.
Yeah, my God. Guys,
all right.
People, oh my God.
Let's preview the Browns versus the Ravens. Let's do it quickly. They're going to lose. Anything else? No, I'm joking. But for real, Browns versus Ravens.
Look, the Ravens
The
are
Browns.
not.
The Browns have some history of playing the Ravens better than you might expect them to play, so that's one thing to think about. The Ravens are on a 3-game win streak right now. The record is not great, but they also were missing Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's coming back, so we expect the Ravens as a whole to be back. I believe they won last week.
They did. And the real thing is that the defense is back. So the beginning of the year, Lamar was in
But they had injuries on defense too, though.
Yeah, they did. But even before the very beginning of the year, Lamar, I'm saying, they had good offense when Lamar was in early, and they were still losing games because that defense was atrocious.
Right.
But they started to actually recover and play well. And they're on a 3-game win streak. And honestly, the AFC is not very good. So if they made it, that would be phenomenally interesting because it would be super rare with the start they had. I'm curious to see what the numbers on that would be. Because I
remember one year the Chiefs started 1-5 and made the playoffs.
They have 4 wins right now. If they win this game, they're 5 wins. They're starting to creep there.
Yeah.
And the AFC's super weak. And the way they're playing well again. Like, they're actually playing well. They beat the Vikings last week. They beat the Bears week before that. Like, they supposed to beat the Dolphins, but they're on 3-game win streak. They're looking pretty good. Defense back and the offense, as long as Lamar's been in there, has been good consistently, including this year. So, it's a tough game for the Browns.
I mean, look, the Jets game was like the game given to you from the gods if you wanted to win. It was a horrible roster with the bad.
That being said,
it was a horrible roster who had a horrible record, who doesn't have a good coach, who's probably firing everybody at the end of the season, who's going to be changing the quarterback. It's a very similar situation to the Browns, except that they also had just traded their best defensive player and their second best defensive player. It could not have been a more perfect situation for you to get another win. Yeah. And they didn't just lose; they managed to find ways to lose.
Just coming back, he's kind of mad.
They lost in the ways that you would expect when you play a great team, and like those great teams find ways to win, and the bad teams find ways to lose. They did that against a terrible team. They were still finding ways to lose against the Jets.
Yeah.
So, if you could do that, this game's going to be a disaster. I mean, this game I think is going to be as ugly gets. To me, the Browns defense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the Ravens defense, but the Ravens offense, I think is going to be a complete game from the Ravens. I think the Browns are going to be in just horrible. I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Ravens either on offense. I think the Ravens are going to win this game 37-10.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really bad.
I was thinking like 31-14.
Not that much better. But yeah.
Like in that with the Browns scoring a late one in garbage time,
But the thing is, they don't score in garbage time either. They don't.
Not often.
They just don't score.
They're not always down by like 4 touchdowns. I mean, you're not 4. A lot of times you get an easy one on 4. They did that before. Remember against the Ravens last time because like they were down by so much.
What about?
I'm not saying that'll be like amazing, but
we have some.
They might. The problem with playing the Ravens is, in past years you played them better, but in past years they've been a very good team. Yeah. Very good team that's focused on playing the best teams that year. That's got a good record. This Ravens team is almost more dangerous for the Browns because they had all those losses early. They're not taking anything for granted. They're going to be hyper-focused. So it's like, you know what I mean? You don't even get the advantage of sometimes getting that trap game.
Oh, same old Browns.
And you get that trap game where they know they're going to lose one in there somewhere, but they don't really care. That's not on the table anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're super uber-focused. You're not going to get away with one.
Yeah.
It makes them even worse than usual.
Well, when Tommy Reese came in, obviously they're playing the Jets, so it's hard, obviously that was a really big impact on why this happened. But we saw Jerry Jeudy come back to life. We saw Judkins come back to life.
A little bit, yeah.
Quinton Judkins over under 70 yards in this game.
I got it with the under. I'm pretty sure the Ravens are good enough and focused enough and smart enough.
I think they're gonna do what but most good teams are able to do is they stuff the box, then they know Dylan can't beat them, and that's about it.
And they're gonna stick to it.
Yeah, I think we're looking at it. I think we're actually looking under 60 for him. I think more like 50s is what Quinton Judkins gonna end up with.
They're gonna really focus on him.
How about Jerry Jeudy? Over under 50. I say under. By the way, these over-unders are not from Vegas. They're just me.
Yeah, just
being like, what do you think? Like if
probably under. I think you'll see more yards go to tight ends and a little bit of running back, and I think Tillman will get a few in the short yards. Like he didn't get so much first game back, but it's his first game back. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get some on the underneath work. He does a lot more underneath work.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Judy's gonna be under 70. I think there might not be anybody with more than 40 yards.
I think you'll probably see a $180, $190 with like 40 of it coming in garbage time for Daniel. Like I think there's gonna be a garbage time touchdown drive that's gonna get him an extra 50 yards. I think most of the game you're gonna be under 150 for Dylan. And
here's a tough line. Okay.
For whatever reason, though, he does have a lot of passing touchdowns considering his overall production. Like his percentage of passing touchdowns to production is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just like a side note. I was like, that is weird. Because like, he'll have a terrible game, but he still throws 2 touchdowns.
Here's a tough line for you. Dylan Gabriel, over or under 145 yards.
I would take the over. Because again, like I think you'll get late garbage time yards.
I think I might take the under. I think he's going to get like 130 yards in this game.
Okay. That's just my opinion. I think
it's going to be really bad.
My opinion is that the Ravens are going to take a big jump in the lead. And when they're up so much, you're going to see that. But then again, you might see Shadeur come in the last 2 drives and take some of those garbage time yards. Up till now, there's been so little willingness, though. If you told me to bet on it, I couldn't bet that they're going to do something that they've shown no inclination to do yet. Even though it's distinctly a possibility.
Yeah.
Although, with the Browns, they'll probably throw for like 270 and 3 touchdowns on the win, right? Just like out of nowhere. And then never again, but just like one time, just to like spite.
No, what would be the Browns is he throws for 270 yards, to get 3 touchdowns, and then at the end of the game, they blow it. They just have a couple boneheaded plays and you just give them the ball.
You know what? Like a block punt taken back for a touchdown. Like
something crazy like that.
There's like 40 seconds left. You're up by 6, and then and then it gets like blocked and taken back.
Who could imagine something like that ever happening to the Browns versus the Ravens? I'll never forget that game. Anyways, hopefully we have something less depressing to talk about next week. Although I will say next week, assuming the Browns lose again, we're going to be getting into college QB talk and discussing who we're going to keep an eye out for. Because at this point, we can also predict that the Browns will definitely be at the top. We didn't know if they were going to squeeze out to like 5 or 6 wins at the end of the season, which would put them out of that top 5 picks. It looks like the Browns will be picking in the top 5, so we will be discussing who the top quarterbacks are in college, who you should be keeping an eye out for, and who you should be watching if you are tuning in on Saturdays.
Very quick note on that. Dante Moore has actually said he's going to come back.
All right, scratch his name off the list. And we will see you next week.